The front line is shifting fast in eastern Ukraine. Russian forces pressing forward, unraveling Ukrainian defenses. Ukraine is rushing to evacuate parts like Zaporizhzhia, where Russians are advancing at a rapid pace. Amid the chaos, the G7 calling urgently for a ceasefire to halt the bloodshed. Take a look.
The battle for Ukraine enters a brutal new phase. Ukraine's front lines are collapsing faster than they can be rebuilt. Russian armored columns are slicing through the south, towns falling one after another. With attention fixed on the Donbas, where Russian forces are driving hard towards Pokrovsk, a parallel crisis has erupted hundreds of kilometers south in Zaporizhzhia. The visuals tell the story of desperation. Convoys of ordinary civilian vehicles packed with hastily grabbed possessions are streaming west. Vehicles loaded with elderly citizens and young children. Their faces etched with fear and confusion as they evacuate frontline settlements.
We heard that Russians are advancing on Uspanivka and on Huliaipol, but who knows that that means it is what it is. People say this, but we don't know this and we don't see this. What we do hear is that shots are being fired close by.
It's scary. We're being bombed. Today in the morning, I went outside and heard a drone fly by. I stood there and heard how it boomed and banged.
Is that why you decided to leave?
Yes, it's impossible to leave your house and go outside. You're in your house, but you cannot walk in your yard.
Kyiv admits the front is under extreme pressure. Supplies are dwindling, ammunition stretched to breaking point. Russia's strategy is brutal but effective. Mass assaults, wave after wave, pushing Ukrainian lines back meter by meter.
Thank you again for your service. We have spoken with the commanders and will be doing everything we can to reinforce you. We are aware of the problems you are experiencing. They are actually the same in all directions. Take care of yourselves. Glory to Ukraine.
G7 foreign ministers in Canada called for an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine. Moscow says that Ukraine would have to negotiate with Russia sooner or later and predicted that Kyiv's negotiating position would get worse by the day. Bureau Report, WION The World is One.
The ceasefire that once promised peace has crumbled in gunfire and smoke. A deadly clash has erupted on the Thai-Cambodia border, shattering the Trump broker deal signed just months ago. The Cambodian Prime Minister, in fact, says 3 civilians have been injured and 1 killed. An ASEAN observer team visited the injured people. The Cambodian government officials called on Thailand to cease the use of force and also called for an independent investigation into the incident.
That attack came after the Thai military had carried out numerous provocative actions over the past few days with the intention of inciting clashes.
Both sides accusing each other of provocation and failing to uphold commitments. Earlier this week itself, Thailand paused implementation of a follow-on deal to wind down the hostilities, claiming a blast from a newly laid landmine had injured 4 of its soldiers. The Thai Foreign Ministry, in fact, said it had demanded an apology from Cambodia after accusing it of laying landmines. 5 days of combat erupted between the two sides this summer, remember, killing 43 people, displacing around 300,000. Before a truce backed by US President Donald Trump took effect, the dispute between Thailand and Cambodia centering on a century-old disagreement over borders mapped during France's colonial rule in the region, with both sides basically claiming a smattering of boundary temples. The stakes are as high as they could be. Thailand and Cambodia's economies and security are intertwined, but disputes over territory and sovereignty have bred mistrust. The failure of the Trump-brokered peace deal signals more instability ahead without urgent dialogue and confidence building. We'll be closely monitoring those developments. And US President Donald Trump has now formally asked Israel's president to pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, calling the corruption trial against him political lawfare. In fact, the official letter released by the Israeli president's office marks Trump's first formal intervention in Israel's judiciary, a remarkable level of intrusion by a US president in another country's legal affairs. Trump's letter to the president states that Netanyahu's focus should not be diverted by the ongoing legal troubles, especially as Israel tries to stabilize after the Gaza war. Trump wrote, and I'm quoting here, "It is time to let Bibi unite Israel by pardoning him," quote unquote. He claimed the corruption cases against Netanyahu were unjustified and politically motivated, even as he said he respects Israel's judicial independence. And in response, Netanyahu thanked Trump in a post on X, saying the US president gets right to the point and calls it like it is, quote unquote. The Israeli Prime Minister said he looks forward to continuing their partnership to bolster security and expand regional peace. How exactly did the Israeli president respond? Israel President's office quickly clarified that any pardon must follow legal procedure. According to Israeli law, only a defendant or their family member can appeal for a pardon, and the Justice Ministry must first recommend it. The Israeli president's office said that while he holds President Trump in high regard, the process will be followed strictly. Remember, the Israeli Prime Minister, Netanyahu, is currently facing 3 separate cases of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. He is accused of accepting expensive gifts and granting regulatory favors to businessmen in exchange for positive media coverage, allegedly. The trial has dragged on for 4 years, amid allegations that Netanyahu is trying to delay the proceedings using his political power. Trump's request has no legal standing in Israel, of course, but it shows just how deep his alignment with Netanyahu is and how far the US president is willing to go and publicly challenge the Israeli judiciary. It's a move that blurs the line between diplomacy and personal politics. But that's Trump for you, it seems. Switching gears, Volodymyr Zelensky, a president who rode to power on anti-corruption promises, now finds the very ideals that propelled him under the microscope. Ukraine confronting a new wave of internal turmoil. The public is left wondering which crisis runs deepest, war with Moscow or the corruption scandals at play within the leader's own country. Our next report getting you the complete story.
Zelensky is drowning. The Ukrainian president fights a war on 2 fronts. The front line against Moscow and the fight at home, and on both sides, the situation looks grim. 6 years into his presidency, the problems at home refuse to fade. During his election campaign in 2019, Zelensky singled out corruption and nepotism as Ukraine's core failures under then-President Petro Poroshenko. He built his campaign on fighting graft. Now, Zelensky finds himself under the same criticism, pulled into a sweeping probe. The biggest corruption scandal in Ukraine, the one which is slowly corroding Kyiv from within.
In my opinion, such scandals, first of all, spoil the country's reputation at the international level, which is extremely important for us now. And as for the mood of citizens, everyone's opinions are different. Of course, we are holding on, but it is clear that this is very, very unpleasant.
The latest blow comes from inside his own ranks. Ukraine's energy and justice ministers have stepped down amid a major probe into the energy sector. Anti-corruption bodies accuse several people of steering a scheme to embezzle about $100 million, tied to Enerhoatom, the national nuclear operator. Some named in the case are current or former aides of Zelensky.
We are talking about millions, tens of millions of dollars, if we consider all those many months during which the investigation was conducted and what is documented. But at the same time, we don't know the full scale of the situation, and depending on what materials the investigation will offer in court, we will be able to figure it out.
The National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine and the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office say that the investigation shows government insiders involved into the scandal. According to the Bureau, the people involved systematically collected kickbacks from Enerhoatom contractors worth between 10% and 15% of contract values. They claim huge sums were laundered and moved abroad, including to Russia, with cash photographed in bags. And between all this, Ukraine's bid to join the European Union hangs by a thread. EU officials have repeatedly raised concerns about Zelensky's domestic policies, especially amid allegations of backsliding on key anti-corruption reforms. Kyiv's European allies have warned the crisis could threaten future international support for Ukraine's war effort against Moscow. Under mounting domestic and international pressure, Zelensky reversed course and dropped plans to tighten control over the anti-corruption institutions. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
The great grinding machine of US government has finally ceased, leaving a void felt across the country. But 2,000 miles west, the crisis has taken a devastatingly real form for the tribes of Montana, survival now depending on an animal they fought generations to restore. Take a look.
This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do.
Donald Trump, flanked by aides and cameras, signed a deal that officially ended the longest government shutdown in US history. But even as the ink dried in Washington, the damage rippled thousands of miles away. For weeks, food aid was halted. Federal nutrition programs, lifelines for thousands, had simply stopped. As lawmakers in Washington, D.C. plodded towards resolution of the record-long government shutdown that interrupted food aid for tens of millions of people, tribal leaders in rural, impoverished reservations across the Great Plains were calling their cherished bisons to help fill the gap.
Okay, this morning we're going to go ahead and harvest 3 buffalo for the 4 big tribes. During the government shutdown, the tribes are worried about how to feed the people, so they decided to bring down 30 animals to help feed the less fortunate. So that's what we'll be doing this morning.
The bison stands tall in legend and memory. Once tens of millions thundered across these grasslands. Tribes risked everything to return the herds to the wild, investing millions of US dollars, forging alliances, denying droughts and politics. Now, shut out from federal help, they must slaughter a handful to keep their neighbors alive.
Flights were half the town, so yeah, we borrow food from my mom almost every day.
Yeah.
And she already has the house full, so it's tough on her too, but she does what she can. Because there ain't no work around here.
As Washington's gridlock finally ends, rural America is wrestling with haunting choices. The shutdown is over, but scars are remaining. Here, survival means sacrifice. The spirit of the bison, once again, carries a nation through hard times. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
on to the United States now, where there's been another twist in the H-1B visa saga. That's right. In fact, a day after U.S. President Donald Trump defended the H-1B visa program, now the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, has said the vision is to bring in skilled overseas workers who train Americans and then go back home. Let's just break this down for you further. He reportedly said the president's vision is to bring in overseas workers where these jobs went, who have the skills, 3, 5, 7 years to train the U.S. workers, and then they can go home. That is what he said. The U.S. workers fully take over, he added. Now, Bessent said this in an interview to Fox News reportedly on Wednesday. Basically, just to contextualize this for you, he was asked about Trump's latest remarks on the H-1B visa program. Remember, the president said America has to bring in talent since it does not have certain talents. Bessent has said this idea of overseas partners coming in, teaching American workers and then returning home is a home run, adding that Americans cannot have those jobs now because they haven't built ships in the U.S. for years. They haven't built semiconductors, he says, reportedly. Remember, Trump defended the H-1B visa program, basically saying America has to bring in talent from around the world. This was in an interview on Fox News, reportedly. That's not even all. A day after the U.S. president defended the H-1B visas, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security has said that America is going to keep using the visa programs and noted that more foreign-born people are becoming naturalized citizens under the Trump administration. She was asked what the administration's position is on the H-1B visas in the wake of Donald Trump's latest remarks that America has to bring in talent since it does not have certain talents, which is a natural question. Given all that's been happening, where does that leave us and what really is the position? Just to put it simply, it leaves us with a string of questions, answers to which will hopefully surface soon, given what happens has far-reaching implications and a ripple effect. What happens from here onwards, we will have to wait and watch.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.